Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to On the Ball. This is our fourth episode. We've really enjoyed the last three. We just want to quickly thank you guys so much for being here tonight and for spending a little bit of your Thursday evening with us to hear our MLB predictions from the not expert, which is me, and a more so expert, which is Zach. He has a better understanding of baseball than I probably ever will, and frankly, ever care to have. But we are really thankful that you guys are here tonight. Really thankful that for all the support we've received on the first three videos. Tonight we're going to be talking about our predictions, and then near the end of the show we'll go ahead and take some Q&A if we have any. So just wanted to thank you all for your support so far and where we are, and we're really enjoying it and hope you enjoy this episode. Tonight we're going to be talking about MLB predictions for the playoffs. We do understand that some of the games have been already completed. Well, I guess some of the first series have already been completed. That's what happens when you do a 3-game series instead of a the normal, what is it, 5 or 7?
Yeah, well, both. You're right on both. 5
Okay.
and 7.
Okay, so that's what happens when you don't do normal series. They end very quickly because baseball plays every day. But yeah, before we get started, neither one of us is going to have a bias here, I would assume. Both of us are Mariners fans. I don't have a baseball. Everyone will say, "You're from Indiana. Why are you not a Cubs fan?" And it's like, I have no ties to Chicago. I don't really care about the Cubs. Some of my friends will hate me for that, but I have family in Seattle. My family's from Seattle, so the Mariners, Ken Griffey Jr., Brett Boone. Good story about that, Zach, that we may have to tell later on. It's one of those I could kill Arthur moments. So we may have to touch on that a little bit later. But yeah. So Zach, you got anything for us before we start?
No, I'm just excited to switch gears a little bit and take a look at some baseball. I know we're probably 2 or 3 days behind on this, but we can kind of go over our predictions and then maybe even see where we went wrong, because I don't think either of us are perfect so far.
No, neither of us are perfect. All right, I'll go ahead and hop over, and then we'll bring up the predictions. So here we go. So hopefully this is easy for everyone to see. I try to make it as big as I possibly could. There's a lot of different colors on it. So the teal color is going to be Zach's predictions. The white is my predictions, and then the red is games that have already finished. So that's kind of to show you where we are and where we decided. So I kind of gave you a key down at the bottom with the 2 different colors. If you're colorblind, I didn't check to make sure that these don't clash. So if you're colorblind, the best way to tell is I am generally on the bottom of the line, except for the championships, and Zach is on the top of the line. That's generally how it goes. Zach's champion is in the box. So that's how I kind of tried to keep it formal, the same there. So anyway, moving forward, Zach, go ahead and lead us on this one.
Yeah, I guess let's start up top here, the 1 and the 8 with Tampa and Toronto. We both had Tampa moving on. Tampa actually was my preseason favorite to win the World Series. So, spoiler alert, that's who I have winning this. I gotta stick with it. The Dodgers are really strong, but Tampa, they are just a team that they really have everything going for them. And actually, one of their players, well, starting off with their pitching staff, really, Blake Snell, Charlie Morton, Tyler Glasnow, they're all picking up steam heading into the playoffs here. They had a couple injuries between the 3 of them. Some innings limits with Blake Snell being a younger guy. So they're just firing on all cylinders heading into the playoffs. They got pitch counts up. They're ready to go 6+ innings, all those guys. They have a real solid bullpen. And then getting back to the hitter, Austin Meadows, who was one of my breakout hitters coming into this season, hasn't quite been that, but he is still going to try and carry this offense. Their offense is really good. They've got a good mixture of speed, a good mixture of power, and some young talent with a little bit of veteran presence as well. So they're just they're a complete team, really.
Yeah, I think for me, when I was looking at this, so kind of how I did kind of, obviously my analysis is not nearly as good as something would say like football. I'm way better at analyzing football. I kind of did it the same way I do March Madness, honestly. I kind of broke down the pitching versus batting and kind of looked at the two teams and the difference between them. So, I mean, Tampa Bay, for instance, 3.56 ERA. They get 9 strikeouts every game, roughly. They average 1 home run a game as far as their pitching. They allow 1 home run a game, and they generally only allow 0.4 runs per inning. And they pitched 527 innings. So compared to the Blue Jays that had a 4.6 ERA with 1.35 home runs a game and only 8.9 strikeouts a game. So right there, I'm already giving your I'm already getting a bonus there from Tampa Bay because they've got the better pitching over the Blue Jays. And then you look at their batting. They average roughly about the same at bats per game. It's 32.9 for the Rays and 33.7 for the Blue Jays. But the Blue Jays score more than they do. They hit more than they do, but they strike out, and the Rays strike out 31% of their at bats. So for me, it was really difficult because I don't know enough. The batting is better for the Blue Jays than it is for for the Tampa Bay Rays, but I think their pitching makes up for that, and I think that's what we saw in that first round. Because I mean, obviously they've won. They're moving on to the next round.
Yep.
You know, that's kind of where that goes for me. So that's why I kind of picked the Bays. I kind of gave it to the Bays, gave it to the Rays because their pitching is just way more superior than the Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays, they have Hyunjin Ryu, who actually happened to give up, I think, it was like 6 or 7 earned runs, including a grand slam in his start. But he was by far their best pitcher this year, and he was the one guy that blew up. So really, that was their one chance at stealing a game. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
And actually, going back to Austin Meadows, he is out or was out for this series. He's got a oblique injury, but he is planning to rejoin.
Gotcha.
Versus the Yankees, who we'll touch on here. But yeah, it's I think Toronto, they've just got too many holes on their pitching staff, and the lineups comparatively are kind of a push. So the pitching, Tampa really put them over the top here.
Yeah. So I guess the next one, talking about the Yankees and kind of Cleveland Indians, I think this one was really surprising. If you look at the pitching differential, it's super surprising. If you look at the home run differential, strikeouts per game, like, again, 31% of their at-bats, Cleveland's at-bats, were strikeouts. That's insane to me. I don't know if that's a big number or not, but from my standpoint, we're talking major league players here. That seems like a lot.
About like 20 from an individual standpoint, not a team standpoint, but about like 21% is about league average.
Gotcha.
For a strikeout rate. So, striking out in almost a 30 at-bats as a team is definitely not that good.
I mean, Yankees give up more home runs in pitching. Strikeouts are not nearly as good as the Cleveland Indians. I mean, I think most people know. I mean, Cleveland Indians, the pitching has kind of been their bread and butter the past couple of years since they went to the World Series. I know they had that drop off, but I mean, it's been their bread and butter. Fun fact, actually, the New York Yankees' son, owner of the New York Yankees, his son actually lives in Carmel, Indiana. He is the youngest IndyCar race team owner ever. So kind of a cool fact. He's got a race team in Indianapolis. So he actually lives in Carmel, Indiana, which is just north of Indianapolis a little bit. So kind of a fun fact. That's not why I picked them. I hate the Yankees with a passion. They beat the Mariners in the going to the World Series. Going to the World Series. Yeah, ALCS. So I never liked the Yankees. Probably never will. But I have to give it here. I just think it's hard to bet against the Yankees, especially with the talent that they have, especially in the playoffs.
and they're coming into this completely healthy. They had Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, DJ LeMahieu all battling injuries for a good portion of this season. They're all coming in healthy.
Yeah.
They're Luke Voigt led baseball, in home runs. He's been a huge surprise for the Yankees.
Yeah.
So the Yankees are coming in. Their offense is, I would argue, maybe the best in the playoffs. They're pitching. They've got Garrett Cole, who is arguably probably one of the 3 best pitchers in baseball. And after that, it kind of drops off. But their offense is going to carry them. They're going to be a scary team for any pitcher, as we saw with Shane Bieber, the likely AL Cy Young. He got lit up for, I think, 6 runs, if I remember correctly, in Game 1.
Yeah.
So these Yankee bats can do damage. And actually, a stat here. So there's an advanced statistic I like to look at when looking at, like, whether it's individual players or teams. It's called it's WRC plus, which is weighted runs created plus, which basically just takes into account how many runs player or team can create. And the Yankees, despite their injuries with 3 of their main guys, led the AL in WRC plus, and led the AL in scoring, 5.25 runs per game. And then the Indians, on the other hand, were second to last in the AL in WRC plus. So quite the contrast in styles here. We got, we had the pitching, like you said, of the Indians versus the juggernaut offense, and the offense won this one.
Yeah. I think moving kind of, because we got a lot of these to go through, but I think kind of moving on to Houston, Minnesota, I think we both picked Minnesota. Well, I don't know about you. I picked Minnesota because I absolutely despise the Astros. And it's the elephant in the room. Cheaters shouldn't win. And the fact that there wasn't a stricter punishment on the people that were involved in that kind of pisses me off quite a bit. So I'm going to root against the Astros every chance I possibly get. And so that's why I picked to get away from the Minnesota Twins, because I picked the Minnesota Twins because I hate the Astros. But I mean, if you look at the stats too, I mean, 3.58 ERA, less than 1 hit per inning, 1 strikeout per inning. They had higher strikeouts per game, lower walks per game. They had higher at bats, higher home runs per game. Or no, they didn't. Sorry, Astros had better hitting there. Their strikeout percentages per at bat was 26 and 25. Batting wise, they're really similar. Pitching wise, I was like, we're talking about a pretty big difference there in ERA. That's what made the difference for me. But obviously, I was wrong.
They kind of surprised me in this series. They had an up and down season, and actually kind of taking a look at for their stud batters, Altuve struggled for most of the season. His WRC plus was like almost cut in half from 2019, which is steep. That is steep. If just for reference, basically a league average batter is 100 WRC plus, and this year he was at 77, so well below league average. Last year he was almost at 140. Alex Bregman, had a pretty significant slash to his WRC plus, and Carlos Correa was below league average this year at 97 WRC plus. So they're hitting, trash can or not, whether or not that went into kind of their struggles this year, but they pulled off 2 wins in the series, and they're moving on. I really thought Minnesota's pitching was gonna, with Kenta Maeda and Jose Barrios, was gonna pull through, and it didn't really. And you could say you'd think the Astros aren't doing anything sneaky this year with how many eyes are on them. So it's a deserved ALDS position for them.
Well, I mean, we thought that with the Patriots too, but yet they were deflating balls. I'll move on. So I mean, going to the next one, I think obviously, we'll talk about the next round and where we think the Astros will maybe go. I think this one is a huge surprise to me. This next game, especially who, the number 7 seed is just surprising to me. Although I think these
Right.
seedings might be wrong on my screen, but
No, they're correct.
they're correct. Okay.
The thing is with these seedings.
Oh, that's right. Oakland's 2. Never mind. Sorry.
Oakland. Let's see. Oakland won the division. If I remember correctly. Mariners. So they got the top seed. The Central obviously was a more competitive division, seeing 3 teams: the Indians, the Twins, and the White Sox. So the White Sox, despite only having one more loss in the regular season, actually ended up with the 7th seed here. Um, these 2 teams are as close as they get, really.
Yeah,
pitching,
exactly,
hitting.
exactly.
And actually, as we're talking here, it looks like Oakland's about to close out this series. They got 2 outs in the 9th, up 6-4. But this game's gone 3 game, or a series has gone 3 games, and they've looked very competitive.
It's true that the White Sox are probably one of the youngest, other than the Mariners, probably one of the younger teams in sports. I mean, I'm looking at their outfielders in 1984, 1991, 1991, 1996, 1995, 1997. I mean, there's a lot of late 90s people on this roster.
And Luis Robert are both, I think, in their early 20s.
They've been known to have a pretty good farm.
They were a big surprise this year. People knew they had talent coming up, a lot of talent coming up, and they thought, give them a year or 2 and they'll be pushing the playoffs. But they said, hey, why not this year? And they got into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
it looks like Oakland's going to pull that one off unless some miracle happens. But it's
runner,
I mean,
well, I can't tell here. ESPN.
No, they're there's 2 out, 2 strikes, 2 balls, 2 outs, guy on second. They're down 2 runs, so it's not looking good for them. But so okay, got anything to say on that? I mean, you.
No, I mean, I think the surprise for me, I thought pitching was a push, really, with these 2 teams. We saw Lucas Giolito carry a perfect game in Game 1 into, I think, the 7th, and that looks like the only game that the White Sox are going to pull out. But I didn't really have a whole ton of faith in Chris Bassett with the A's, and it looked like today they just threw kind of a bullpen mixture at them, stacking guys 1 or 2 innings. So I thought the White Sox pitching would prevail, especially with Matt Chapman, arguably Oakland's best player. He's a Platinum Glove winner and their cleanup hitter. So he's out with a groin injury or hip flexor, one of the 2. And I thought the White Sox would pull this out.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Well, we both did, and that's kind of really hard for me to say because of the fact that the White Sox have been nothing for so long. I feel like they're kind of that. They're kind of in a sense like the Mariners. They're kind of that forgotten child a little bit when it comes to baseball. But so we'll hop over to. We're not going to go to the Dodgers in Milwaukee. We'll leave them for last. We'll go to Atlanta and Cincinnati.
Yeah, gosh, this series frustrated me. I watched actually the entirety of Game 1, Trevor Bauer versus Max Fried, and both those guys were absolutely dealing. If you love pitching, this Game 1 was you were just excited the whole game. I think both the guys, Bauer, I want to say it was like 7 2/3, 12 Ks. Max Fried, I think was 6 or 7 innings, obviously no runs, and this went into extra innings at 0-0. And the Reds had 3 or 4 opportunities to score runs in this game. I remember a 1st and 3rd with no outs. They had 2 guys strike out and then like a ground out to short. They didn't capitalize. And Game 2, I thought this three-headed monster with Trevor Bauer, Luis Castillo, and Sonny Gray would carry the Reds, but when your offense scores literally 0 runs in not only 2 games but an extra inning game, so I think they played 23 or 24 innings, and they
Mm-hmm.
scored 0 runs. You're not going to win games.
Well, they had the highest strikeouts per game of anybody in the playoffs. They were at almost 11 strikeouts a game. So as far as pitching strikeouts go, and they struck out at bat 29% of the time. So, I mean, that's
yeah, and not to discount the Braves. I actually think the Braves, maybe out of any team here, I would say maybe they have the best chance of knocking off the Dodgers. Their lineup is loaded. They got Ronald Acuna, who's probably one of the most exciting and best hitters in the NL. They've got the likely MVP in Freddie Freeman and Marcelo Ozuna, who I want to say led the NL in home runs, or at least was in the top 2 or 3. So their lineup is stacked. It's just a question of if their pitching can kind of just keep them in the ball game, so their hitting can score enough runs.
And they're another team. I remember when I was reading, the only time I ever hear it is when they're talking about how poor the Mariners farm league is and who we should be doing trades with to get better farm team players. But they have one of the best farm teams in the league as well. I mean, I thought they were the best, if not top 5. So
a lot of homegrown talent. Yep.
I picked the Cincinnati Reds, and as you can see, I picked them going all the way to the divisional finals. And I'm kind of mad at myself that I did that, because I knew they were going to be the same Cincinnati Reds and choke, as they just appear that they always do. And so I was like, why did I do that to myself? But it's what it is.
Yeah, it's too bad. This Atlanta or Cincinnati. Now, of course, we know who the winner is. Atlanta. They, I think, have a very easy path to meet up with the top section of the bracket there, because the Cubs, I just don't really believe in. We'll jump up to them next, and Miami was projected to be one of the worst teams in baseball coming into the season.
It's a Derek Jeter effect.
Yeah, they got into the playoffs with. Granted, they have some talent, but they got into the playoffs. So
yeah,
Atlanta's got a pretty clear path to face off with probably the Dodgers up there.
Yeah. So moving up to the kind of the Cubs and the Marlins, you kind of touched on it. I always hate the fact that it's the Miami Marlins and not the Florida Marlins. Like, we grew up with it being Florida Marlins. And the thing that sucks is I actually was on the Marlins. I won minor league baseball and when I was in the Marlins jersey, when you were, this tall, although I never really grew, so I'm still probably that tall. But I mean, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Dark Sage, we see that question. We'll get to that as soon as we get to that topic area, the next set of games. But yeah, the Marlins and the Cubs, I mean, again, don't really know. I got to root for the Cubs a little bit here, although it's kind of one of those things where they're starting to win. The fans are kind of starting to get to that level where they're kind of annoying. It's you get to a certain level and that's kind of annoying. Colts fans did it. Liverpool fans can do it. I don't know. It's just it's an interesting game to me. I know they have Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish is an incredible pitcher. Again, someone I would love for the Mariners to have. They won't have him, but what are kind of your thoughts? I mean, obviously I picked the Cubs here, but what are kind of your thoughts?
Well, the Cubs have been here. I pretty much just picked them here just because of they've been here, done that, veteran presence. But neither of these teams really excite me all that much. Going back to WRC Plus, both teams finished in the bottom third in all of baseball. So neither team hit the ball very well. The Marlins hit just 60 homers, which is one more home run than the combined amount of home runs of Luke Voit, Jose Abreu, and Marcelo Ozuna. So 3 guys in baseball basically hit as many home runs as the Marlins. And the way baseball's trending, you gotta hit it over the fence. It's not get on base, bunt the guy over, steal a base baseball anymore. It's hitting the ball over the fence,
Yeah.
it's strikeouts, it's walks. Um, so neither, I don't know. I just don't have a lot to say. The one thing I will say, um, obviously the Cubs have Yu Darvish, potential Cy Young winner this year, and the Marlins. Um, they do have maybe one of the most exciting pitching prospects in all of baseball, Sixto Sanchez, who is already drawing comparisons, I think, at age 21 or 22 to Pedro Martinez. So if you're a Marlins fan, um, you're going to have him to watch for 10 years. And if he's anything like Pedro, has a career like Pedro, it's going to be fun. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, stat wise, at least from my analysis, they're pretty solid together. I mean, they're pretty much same on,
yeah.
Although I don't feel like getting a hit 1 in 4 at bats is very good because their batting average is .222. The Cubs are. That's not very good. Yeah, that's not very good
like
team batting average.
Neither of them ranked. Well, actually, sorry, the Cubs were 19th WRC plus majors.
Yeah.
And Miami was 21st. Those don't exactly sound like playoff offenses, but they both have decent pitching. Marlins up, they're up 1-0. Their game got postponed today, so we're gonna have to wait another day to see who pulls out, or maybe a couple days. There's game 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on to kind of the San Diego Padres and the St. Louis Cardinals. I've got a lot of friends. I got friends. Yeah. It's hard because when you live in Indiana, there's like one of 3 teams I feel like that you're a fan of. Actually, one of 4, surprisingly. The Cubs, the Reds, the St. Louis Cardinals, and believe it or not, the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta Braves were on TV a lot when not my generation, because by my generation, our generation, we pretty much could see whatever game we wanted to see. But Atlanta was pretty much the like big deal, like Sunday night game, baseball game, like that was Atlanta. And so they watched it in Indianapolis all the time. So like St. Louis for me, I've always not hated them. You know, I'm not a Cubs fan, so I don't hate the St. Louis Cardinals. But I mean, the Padres just seem like the better team. They have higher strikeouts. They pretty much both teams allow the same home runs. Batting, they walk less batters. They get more walks, or about the same amount of walks per game. They strike out less. They have a higher batting average. They get more home runs per game. I mean, everything just seems to be in Padres, and that's why I picked them. But
I do want to put a disclaimer, a little bit of hindsight here, but the Padres went into this series down their top 2 pitchers. Mike Clevenger, who they recently acquired at the trade deadline, went down with biceps tightness, I believe it was, and Dinelson Lamet left his last start of the season, and both were left off the playoff roster for this series. So neither of them are pitching. They had to go to Chris Paddock, who struggled all year. Really good young talent, but struggled all year in game 1 and struggled again. Cardinals pulled out game 1 here. I really, the Cardinals to me are probably the worst team in the playoffs. They've got Jack Flaherty, and then they turned to Adam Wainwright, who's like 45 years old, and I honestly couldn't even tell you who their third pitcher is. I think maybe Dakota Hudson or
Wainwright.
Maybe Wainwright.
Did you say Wainwright?
Yeah, I said him.
Okay.
Maybe they turned to Carlos Martinez in the third game. I'm not sure. The Padres down their top 2 arms is going to be tough, but their offense, I think, can pull this out. They were 5th in all of baseball in Team WRC plus, so their offense is legit. But yeah, I guess I got to put that little disclaimer there that they're down their 2 top pitchers. So St. Louis could steal this one, despite really not having that good of pitching, and they are 20th in baseball WRC plus. So
I guess that leads to our question that Dark Sage asked in the chat. how do they keep making the playoffs and winning games?
Yeah,
Do they have
they
magic
must.
pixie dust? Are they buying the umpires? Are they deflating baseballs like the Patriots? Like, and I'm
They've
gonna
got
keep
something.
hitting on that.
They just have a winning. They have a winning clubhouse, a winning um, theme to their organization.
Hmm.
They've been there so much. They just know how to win. They have a lot of guys on that team still who were in some of those really good Cardinals teams within the last decade. So
Yeah, yeah, that's for
Yadier
sure.
Molina, Matt Carpenter. Um, I got to give them some credit. They do have Paul Goldschmidt, who is going to try and carry that offense.
Yeah.
But to me, them and the Cubs and Marlins, those three teams, they just they just don't excite me going into the playoffs really at all.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, it looks like right now the scores are showing that Cardinals are up 1-0 on them, top of the end of the first. So, Cardinals bats are starting hot. They had 2 hits in the first. So, I mean, we'll see what
Yeah,
happens.
and
But
instead of throwing out Dinelson Lamet, going Clevenger game 1, Dinelson Lamet game 2, who probably would have been like top 5, probably is going to be top 5 in Cy Young voting. They got to throw out Zach Davies,
yeah,
who is already up to 30 pitches in the first, gave up a run. So
not looking
Padres
good.
they're going to have to put up their offense is going to have to put up 6 to 8 runs to
Jeez.
win today.
Jeez. Well, that's not considering their average runs per game is 5.42. Not looking good for them.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was 5.42 per game, and the Cardinals actually had 2 less games than the rest of the teams in the playoffs.
They
They
did.
only had 58, so they're probably a little bit fresher, I would think.
Well, it was such a short season to begin with. I think a lot of these guys are going to be fresh. The Cardinals, they were shut down really early on, like within the first couple weeks of the season,
Yeah,
with the COVID tests. So
yeah,
um,
yeah,
they've been playing, so they haven't been sitting around.
yeah. So that leads us on these first rounds to the Dodgers and the Brewers. Again, another team that I feel like is forgotten about. I don't feel like the Brewers are really on anyone's radar ever. I mean,
This,
their new jerseys are sick. I actually kind of do want one of those things. Those things look amazing. But
yeah,
yeah,
this was going to be an upset pick of mine until I found out Corbin Burns, their best pitcher, went down with an arm injury in his
mm,
last start of the season, and Devin Williams, the absolute lights out relief man on their team, uh, also went down with an arm injury. So
jeez,
they're down their best reliever and their best starter. Uh,
yeah,
they
second,
still they still probably have the best bullpen in the playoffs. Maybe not with Devin Williams going down,
yeah.
but it was going to be an upset pick. But Dodgers, they're just too good.
I mean, the Brewers do have the second best strikeouts per 9 in the playoffs. I mean, followed behind the Cincinnati Reds. But the Dodgers, I mean, 34 at bats per game compared to 32. 8.72 hits per game compared to 7. Home runs per game. Dodgers average almost 2. 11% of their at bats are walks, 23% of their at bats are strikeouts, and 26% of their bats are hits. So, I mean, it's compared to a 30% strikeout for the Brewers. So Dodgers are just really good. They just have a really good batting team, and they've got the lowest ERA in the playoffs. I mean,
Yeah, the
they've got the best
Dodgers
pitchers, combined pitchers.
from top to bottom on their pitching staff, they might have the best pitching. I mean, rolling out Walker Bueller in Game 1, Clayton Kershaw in Game 2, and then some combination of Dustin May, Tony Gonsolin, and Julio Urias in Game 3. Plus getting down to their bullpen with Pedro Baez, Kenley Jansen. Top
Yeah.
to bottom, they just have a complete pitching staff, and their lineup is top to bottom probably one of the best as well.
So would you say for baseball, it's kind of like pitching is kind of the defense of football? Pitching is what wins you championships, not
Yeah,
necessarily your batting and all of that kind of stuff. Or is it
yeah.
more balanced than football? Because football
Um,
defenses win the games, unless you're the New England Patriots against the Atlanta Falcons. But like, is the pitching kind of what decides?
yeah. With the way baseball's been trending, um, I think pitching is taking on more of that like defense wins championships
Hmm.
motto because baseball has become so much about kind of boomer bust on offense. Like it's a lot of strikeouts, a lot of home runs, not so much of the small ball like advancing runners and bunting and stealing. So if you have a pitching staff, like if the Brewers could just get to the fifth inning in like a 1-0 game or 1-1 game versus the Dodgers every time, and then turn it over to you get Devin Williams for 1 to 2 innings, you get Freddie Peralta for 1 to 2 innings, and then you get the lefty Josh Hader. I mean, just getting a hit off one of those guys is near impossible, let alone a run.
Yeah,
So if you've got pitching top to bottom that can just shut down an offense, um,
yeah,
it can really take you far.
yeah. I mean, that's
So
yeah. I mean, that when it comes down to it, that's a good point. That's
yeah,
definitely a
like
good
the
point.
Brewers, they lost two of their biggest guys, two of their biggest arms. So it's gonna be tough to overcome.
So after we go, so we've kind of talked about these first rounds here, and I think that that's I think we've explained those fairly well. So I say for the next couple of rounds, the next three kind of leading up to maybe the World Series, we just say why do you like a certain team over the other one? So we'll start up at
Yeah.
the top with Tampa Bay and New York and the Yankees. Why'd you pick Tampa? What do you think puts them over the edge
Boy,
against the Yankees?
this could go either way. I think either of our predictions. Well, obviously, either of our predictions can go
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
But
yeah.
Tampa, I picked them just because I want to stick with my preseason prediction of them winning the World Series. Uh, they're the more complete team. I'd argue they'd have a little better pitching than the Yankees, top to bottom. Maybe not so much as far as just having that one stud guy in Garrett Cole as the Yankees do, but I got Tampa just being the complete team. We're up to 5 games now in this series, so some of that baseball randomness, short sample size gets a little less prevalent as you get
Yeah.
from 3 games to 5 games and then eventually seven um,
Yeah.
in the ALCS in the World Series. So I got Tampa, but that's a tough one. Really tough.
I think it comes down to me going kind of against what I was talking about, but just the batting. I mean, just I that Yankees offense is just
Mm-hmm.
freaking. How much money would I have to give to get Aaron Judge on the Mariners? I
Mm.
don't know, but it'd be a lot of money, and would I want them to pay that? Absolutely. I mean, it just guy's a freak. Obviously, he's not as good as he was his rookie year, but I mean, he's still one of the top players in the league probably.
Yeah.
So I just give it to the Yankees at this point. I hate to say that. I mean, I just feel like that hitting is going to put them over the edge compared
Yeah.
to others. So, and then moving down to we'll have to say Astros and White Sox now because, or sorry, Astros
Well,
and Oakland. I'm not necessarily prepared to talk about those two, but kind of what's your breakdown on that? Where do you think that's going to fall?
yeah. Astros Oakland, obviously not the matchup that either of us had. Um, I think it pains me to say this because still don't think the Astros got what they deserved, but I think the Astros are going to pull this one out. Their
Yeah,
pitching is sneaky good, really good,
yeah,
um, and their offense they've got the names on the offense, and they can do damage. It's just a question of are they going to continue their regular season woes, or are
yeah,
they going to step up their hitting like they did in the 2 games versus Minnesota? Um, I could see this one going all 5 games though. This could go either way.
They know
These are
each other.
they're same division, know each other. Both good teams. They could both advance, but I'm gonna go with the Astros.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna follow you on that one. I just think the Astros are probably gonna be just too much to handle as far as pitching and batting goes. Altuve is one of the best batters in baseball, and um, they've got Justin Verlander. Freaking,
Well, Verlander's out.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, they do have Lance McCullers though, Framber Valdez, Zach Greinke.
Yeah. Okay.
Their pitching's good.
Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be fine, unfortunately. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'll go with that. What about the Dodgers? And it looks like it's probably going to be. It might be St. Louis.
I don't know. We don't know yet.
We don't know.
I think this doesn't really matter. It maybe if San Diego is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I'll continue my disclaimer with San Diego saying if they get Clevenger and Lamet back for this NLDS series, they could push this to 5 and maybe sneak a win over the Dodgers. But
Davies just gave up another run. Or sorry, it's 4-0 now. He gave up another home run, so he gave up. Yeah, he's given up 3 runs. I think that's over.
I was gonna say I don't see St. Louis knocking off the Dodgers when you got, a Walker Buehler, Adam Wainwright matchup.
Yeah.
So Dodgers pretty strongly here.
Yeah. And then finally that Cubs versus Atlanta. I think I'm going to go with Atlanta here. I personally, I think Atlanta beats the Cubs. I'm not really confident in the Cubs and who they are and kind of where they go. So I think I'm going with Atlanta here. I think they've got the better roster up and down. That's where I stand on that one.
I agree. Like I mentioned, not really a fan of the Cubs or Miami. So Atlanta's offense is just probably up there with the Yankees and the Dodgers. I would say top 3 in these playoffs, by a pretty strong margin. Max Fried is going to have to carry a pretty big load for that pitching staff, but I think he can do it. And Ian Anderson threw a good game in Game 2 against Cincinnati. So their pitching staff just kind of has to piece it together and let the offense put up runs.
Yeah. And then finally, moving on to the next one, Dodgers and I believe we both said Atlanta. Dodgers and Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the as much as I like Atlanta, I think their hitting is actually kind of a push with the Dodgers. So then you turn to the pitching, and the Dodgers have that by a wide margin for me.
Yeah.
And you start strategy changes now. You're not playing 3 games or 5 games. You're playing 7. So if you don't have pitching depth, it's going to start to show in Game 3, 4, and 5 in that range.
Mm-hmm.
You're rolling out your 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Some teams don't even have a 5th starter for the playoffs. They just piece together bullpen guys. So that's going to start to show for Atlanta for sure when they're rolling out their 4th and 5th starter. And then you got the Dodgers rolling out Julio Urias or Dustin May or Walker Buehler on short rest. So Dodgers are going to win that one.
I obviously picked them to go all the way, so no arguments for me there. Kind of Tampa Bay versus Astros, and then with mine, Yankees versus Astros. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I think the Astros probably pull this one off for me versus the Yankees.
So you're changing. The White Sox would lose, but the Astros would win.
Yeah, the White Sox would lose because I just don't think they're the better team. I think overall the White Sox are a better team than the Twins. But the Yankees versus the Astros, I mean, the pitching is relatively similar, right? Strikeouts, batters walked, ERA, all of them are very similar. I think what it comes down to is who am I going to trust to have a better games, although they're at 7. So this could really go either way with these two teams personally. You just got to ask who's going to stay hot longer. And Astros average more home runs than the Yankees. They strike out just about as much or less than the Yankees do. They walk more than the Yankees do. They have less hits than the Yankees, but they score more runs than the Yankees, and they have less at bats. But even then, we're not talking about anything super crazy here. So, I mean, I just think they really do give a huge matchup for the Yankees. And if the Astros make it that far, I think they're going to be difficult for the Yankees to kind of. I think that'll be a good series to watch. I think it'll go the distance. I think it'll be a really good series to watch because you're gonna have relatively the same pitching. It's basically a toss up. These two teams are just so similar.
Yeah, I would agree. I would probably have the Yankees going through if it were Yankees Astros. I just keep coming back to that Yankees offense. But the Astros, they've been there in the past 2-3 years, and they've got championship rings.
With asterisks.
I'll put an asterisk by that. But they have the experience.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But let's see here. If we're going off my matchup, Tampa Bay, and then we got the A's and Astros there.
You had said Astros.
Yeah, I said the Astros. That one's so tough. I even just second guessed myself there. But Tampa versus the Astros, I just think Tampa has the more complete team. That really is why I keep picking them. If you look at their team, they don't have a hole. Their bullpen is above average. Their starting pitching is one of the best in the playoffs, especially their first three guys, their top trio there. And their hitting is above average. It's just a safe combination of defense, that lineup, and pitching, both starting and the bullpen. So going with Tampa.
So with the World Series, you're saying they're the more complete team over the Dodgers then? Yeah, because I mean that's been your excuse the whole time, and I can make the argument that the Dodgers are a more complete team.
So I would actually agree with that, but my preseason prediction, we got to keep remembering this. I do have one bias.
Your preseason prediction. And where'd you put the Mariners? Last in the league, second to last in the league,
somewhere around there. Yeah. So my bias is my preseason prediction. Tampa's going to win it. But I would agree with you. The Dodgers are a more complete team. But it's baseball. It's if a team is hot, they're hot. And I think Tampa is just going to carry that momentum, knocking off a tough team in the Yankees. And then, a tough championship quality team in the Astros.
Yeah.
And they just continue that on through the Dodgers. I don't see why not.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting. I would say that the World Series is going to be something I actually, if it is Tampa Bay and the Dodgers, I'll definitely be watching. It's not something that I normally watch. Honestly, baseball is not. I enjoy going to baseball games when we're sitting in the stands. And that kind of we're running kind of short on time with how long these normally run. But that real quick story. So as you know, Uncle Steve with the being the reporter he was, Arthur was probably 5 or 6. I don't know. He was young. But you remember when there was those bleacher seats in left and right field at Safeco.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we're at a game. We're on those bleacher seats. It's usually where the press sat, honestly, from what Steve told me. So we're there. It's a cold night. We had, ballpark food. The Mariners are playing okay. They're not playing great. Jamie Moyer's having a pretty good game pitching. Brett Boone has hit some nice balls, but hadn't gone anywhere. I don't even remember who we were playing. All I know is it was late. It was like the 6th or 7th inning. Mariners are behind. Arthur's like, I want to go home. So Aunt Stephanie takes us home. Or we leave. We're on the ferry going across. Okay, so we get onto the ferry, we get across, we get in the car. She gets in the car. And I said, "Hey, can you turn on the game? I want to hear the end of it." And she's like, "Sure." Bases loaded for the Mariners. Brett Boone steps up to the plate. He hits a grand slam. Watched ESPN, the replay of it on ESPN the next day. It hit our seat. It literally hit our seat. I was like, I could kill Arthur. This is ridiculous. It literally hit our seat. I was so upset because that would have been one of the coolest memories. It still is a really cool memory. I mean, it makes me laugh every time I think about it, but it's just like, dang it, man. I could have been there for a grand slam to win the game. It was like, it just makes me so upset. But yeah, that was kind of the story. And Arthur left a question in the chat that he's still referring to FIFA. Passes through the middle, Arthur. They're terrible. Worst idea. You should dribble and spin around guys and use skill moves. And the computers suck. That's just how it goes in FIFA. Hopefully the new game, which comes out soon, will be better. Anyway, real quick, what game are you watching? What game are you watching in the second round? Which one is a must watch for you?
Which series is a must watch? Boy. For me, the must watch has got to be Yankees versus Tampa.
Okay.
I think they're two of the best teams that just unfortunately are matched up in the ALDS. Both these teams could win the World Series. I think whoever wins this series is gonna either beat or push the Dodgers for the World Series this year. So that's the series to watch.
After we're going to kind of stay on different sports topic. After the first game that you saw, Heat versus Lakers, the Heat sweep them?
Lakers, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially after seeing them up 30 points and then hearing that Dragic and Adebayo are going to be doubtful for game 2. I don't see this going past 5 games.
Okay. I'm going to stick with my 6. I think they pull 2 off, but not much after that. And then finally, the last question I have for you and kind of your interest, the opinion I have is Steelers and Titans. Titans in Minnesota have the first cases in the NFL of COVID as being a problem. I think I saw somewhere where 11 players for the Titans have tested positive, I believe. I think it was 11.
I saw like 3, but maybe that got updated.
Let me double check.
Like a day ago, but
maybe it was 11 players total between the Vikings and the Titans.
Steelers. Or no, sorry, Vikings.
Yeah. Vikings and Titans, which kind of makes me a little bit worried because the Colts played the Vikings the week before. I don't know where that is, but I mean we've still had negative tests. But what are your thoughts on that? You think this will have any long-lasting impact on the season, or you think they apparently are going to play it the way it was scheduled? So no changes on schedule.
No. I think they said they were scheduling for later in the season, right? What they said.
Maybe they did. Maybe I was.
I think as of yesterday night, they were going to play it Monday or Tuesday, and now they had an additional couple positive tests. So
Gotcha.
I saw a scenario. Let me pull this up here before I butcher it. But
the Titans game will not be played during week 4 following 2 additional positive COVID tests among the Titans, the NFL announced. According to the statement from the NFL, 1 additional Titans player and 1 personnel member tested positive. Titans added cornerback Christian Fulton. Okay. So the decision to postpone the game was made to ensure the health. Has been postponed to Monday or Tuesday.
Here's a solution. NFL hasn't announced this yet, but some random guy on Twitter did, and it sure seems pretty good. So if we want some if the viewers want some inside info, here's what I think is going to happen. So Steelers and Titans do not play this week. Week 4 essentially becomes their bye week, both teams. Steelers and Ravens get pushed from week 7 to week 8. Both teams have buys on week 8. And the Steelers and Titans play week 7, which is the Titans currently scheduled
Bye. Yeah.
So that's
Be interesting.
shout out to Alex Kozara on Twitter for
Yeah.
that one. But I think that might be what happens.
Yeah, that would make sense. All right. That would make sense. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, guys, that is it for this one. We're right at an hour mark. Actually, we're probably a little bit less because we had that longer intro and all that kind of stuff. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please follow. Check us out on YouTube as well. Just search Demigod Colt. It'll come up. You'll find it, or On the Ball. Both of those will bring it up. Follow that, subscribe to the YouTube. Make sure you hit that bell so that you can get all of our follows. We just really do appreciate all the support that we've gotten over these first 3 episodes. We're going to keep cranking these out. I think today was a great episode as far as the playoffs for MLB go. And yeah, guys, we look forward to it. So yeah, Zach, you got anything to say?
No, it's a fun one. Leave us some feedback on this live content here. I guess anyone viewing it now or after the fact will be viewing it probably as normal, but this was a live format. So if you're viewing it on YouTube, come check it out when we're live and leave questions. We can answer them at the end.
We will be back. We appreciate you watching, really do. And we'll see you next week with our episode number 5. Well, thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next time. Appreciate you being here. And yeah, thanks, guys.